Welcome back, everyone. Oz here, and today I've got some r/entitled parents for you all. As per usual, I'll be reading the post, giving you my opinions, and I hope you do the same down in the comments below. And without further ado, let's jump right into it. I don't know why I'm here. Mom threw the gender reveal I didn't want. Without me. It seemed like many were amused by my crazy mother's antics, and Mom still complains we named my daughter after mother-in-law 1.5 years later. My mother-in-law is deceased. We actually covered this one in the previous Entitled Parents post. Hell yeah. So here is another funny, ridiculous story from my pregnancy. Disclaimer that this post took place almost 2 years ago. My mother is narcissistic and abusive. She pretended to change when we were adults. All that went out the window during my pregnancy. Everything had to be her way. Or she'd scream I was making everything about me, ignoring that she was making everything about her. One thing she demanded early on was a gender reveal. I still don't know why. She and my father didn't have them for my brothers or me. My brothers also wanted a gender reveal. When I asked why, I was told because they wanted to. I said no. I think they're a bit creepy, to be honest. This is not a judgment on people who do have them, I just don't want one for us. My husband agreed. I offered a compromise to my mom to add pink filters to the ultrasound photos. That wasn't good enough. My mother planned a gender reveal anyway for a weekend I was visiting. I'm about 7 hours from them. And didn't tell me. She planned a virtual party with pink gender reveal decorations. My dad let me know, and I was upset. I talked to my mother, and she told me she was compromising by doing a virtual gender reveal because I didn't want a party. I told her I appreciated the thought. I was in therapy for family doormatism at the time. But it wasn't something to compromise on, because it wasn't wanted. I couldn't even cancel it myself because she didn't tell me who she'd invited. She and my brothers hounded my husband and me, trying to get us to change our minds. Even my dad reached out to ask me to just go along with it to keep the peace. After weeks of this, my mother came to us and meekly said she understood we didn't want it, but that she'd bought some pink poppers on sale. She said it would mean a lot if we could please pop them and take some pictures with just my husband, dad, and brothers when we visited. It was a completely different way than she'd been talking to me. I agreed, since I was taken aback, and a few photos for prosperity couldn't hurt, right? Plus, she asked so nicely. Well, a week before we were to visit, I was flooded with calls and texts congratulating me on my baby girl. My husband and I had only told immediate family at that point, as I had suffered a late miscarriage previously. Oh no. My mom had changed the date and had the gender reveal a week early. My husband and I weren't even in the state. She filmed it and sent it to everyone in my family but my husband and me. She also didn't include any of my husband's family, though she had their contact info. I tried to call her, straight to voicemail. 4 hours after sending it to everyone else, she sent the video to me. It features my brothers breaking a piñata. When it explodes in pink powder, my mother says, "That's right, we're having a girl." Then they pop pink poppers. Honestly, I think it's pretty cringy. Finally, she answered me. I asked why the fuck she had the gender reveal and sent the video without my involvement. She dismissed me and said, "I don't know why you're so upset. You didn't want the gender reveal anyway." Like, yes, that is exactly why I was upset. She stole my pregnancy announcement and specifically did the gender reveal I didn't want and hid it from me. I was so upset I canceled on visiting the following weekend and spent time with my husband's family instead. That's when we agreed to use my mother-in-law's middle name for my daughter, which is covered in the post I mentioned at the beginning. Hopefully you get some enjoyment from this story. I was so upset at the time, but looking back, the absurdity makes me laugh. After hearing this one and the one from the previous episode, I'm left just with the opinion that her mother knows exactly what she's doing every single step of the way. What buttons to push and when, what to say, how to twist the situation to make her the victim, how to push her agenda onto others, and when they refuse the agenda, suddenly it's, "You're making everything about you. What about me?" When they're the controlling force in this situation. It was the exact same thing with the name story from the previous episode. But the part that really gets to me Is the mother taking away the agency of the announcement specifically when they were withholding announcing it to everyone else because of prior complications they had with a miscarriage? There is so much weight and frustration to that factor that I don't even know how to properly delve into, because this is just foul. It's disgusting. Not only is it a removal of agency, but it's a risk at re-traumatization, and it completely risks a full repeat of what happened last time if things went awry. Thankfully, we know they didn't. But if they had, what would happen then? How would that conversation occur? Because it goes from immediate family who are aware of the pregnancy and the prior complications that could potentially happen, to now everyone now needs the explanation as to why they're no longer having a girl. OP's mother's antics is not about celebrating the new life that's coming into the family, it's about putting the attention onto her. It was in this instance, and it was in the previous post. I hope OP considers going limited contact at a minimum with their mother, because these kind of antics are only going to spread and continue as they attempt to raise their child with this woman prowling around like an obsessed gargoyle with malicious intent. Posted by Big Engine That Did. Today is the 1-year anniversary of me going no contact with my family over money and social media. I haven't spoken to anyone on my mother's side in 1 year over this, and I'm questioning if I ever will again, despite loving them and wanting a relationship with them. I am married, and my husband and I share the exact same background story. We both grew up poor in bad environments, and we both left home at 18 for college and never looked back. I didn't meet my husband until I was 31, and by then, we'd both managed to overcome our upbringings and create decent lives for ourselves. We are dinks, with a very modest home, and we keep our expenses minimal because we prefer regular travel over nice things. We both work remote as well, so from the outside looking in, we appear to always be on vacation. At one point, I decided to start posting travel content to see if I could generate a following and monetize it, which ended up working out, and I was able to earn small amounts and a few free things here and there. I was more than happy with this outcome, so I continued to post in hopes of what this might become. I live across the country from my family, so no one had any idea that I was doing well before I started posting, because I usually only saw them on holidays. My increased posting of our travels led to my family members starting to ask me for money. I was initially happy to help because the requests made sense, and it didn't hurt the budget. Over time, it started going from a couple hundred here and there to increasingly ridiculous requests, as well as more people asking. For example, my brother's fiance asked me to pay for their wedding. Not help, but to cover it completely. My husband became fed up, and together we created an agreement with each other that any request over a certain amount needs to be approved by the other. He also said that my mother is the only person I need to worry about and to let everyone else take care of themselves. Now, my husband is a lot more bootstrap mentality than I am, so his response is usually no, whereas I used to have a harder time with that. With him supporting me, it became much easier to say no. I even gained confidence after a while, and eventually, everything except someone being homeless or hungry became an easy no for me. My family definitely noticed the shift and commented on it, but it didn't seem like a big deal. Fast forward, my mom slips up while we're talking on the phone, and I find out that she was lying to me about why she needed money. After I cut everyone off but her, they began asking her to ask me, and she would do it and pretend that it was for her. This hurt my feelings, and my response was to stop helping her financially as well. She started asking other people in the family instead. One day, I get a phone call from a cousin of mine. This cousin makes good money, but he has a whole family to support, and he's also regularly asked for money. He asks me why my mom is asking him for money instead of me, and tells me that I need to step up and share the load. He goes on this tangent about how we need to stick together and take care of the people who took care of us. I don't bother explaining how we got here, just keep it civil and let it go. After this, a younger relative of mine who also posts content makes a video about people who don't help family and forget where they come from. Imagine my hurt and surprise to open the comments and see my aunt comment, "I won't say names, but rhymes with Clara. My name is Sarah." Even worse is that the comment had a lot of likes, replies, and laughing emojis from other family members. That was more than enough for me. I haven't talked to anyone since then, and have removed and blocked all of my relatives from social media. I don't know if this is permanent, and I do miss them, but I'm just not ready to deal with this entitlement and ungratefulness again. Honestly, I don't blame OP. It'd fucking break my heart if my mother was asking me for financial aid, and then I found out that she was lying about what she needed help for and was just handing the money to relatives who were previously attempting to ask me for financial aid, but I declined. Yeah, that would really suck. And not to mention what I can only imagine a younger cousin blasting you on social media and seeing your entire family like heeing and hawing about the whole situation. That's not fun at all. And I really do wonder what's been going on after a year if they still hold the position of, yeah, they just were being extremely rude and I'm glad they're gone because they stopped paying for our random shit. I mean, of course they wouldn't say it like that, but I do wonder what kind of mental gymnastics they're currently running through to attempt to justify the behavior they subjected OP to. Ugh, messy. Future Goddess. How do I navigate refusing to have dinner with my mom's abusive partner and his family? My mom has been seeing a horrible man since I was 16 or 17. She and my father had a divorce after many years of unhappy marriage, and this was very tough on the family. Very soon after, she started dating a horrible man. I have no issues with my mom being with another person. I'm very happy for her. But he regularly belittles me and my brother and refuses to befriend us. I don't have to have a loving relationship with him, but he does not respect me. He has held things I've done as a teenager against me to this day. I'm grown now and changed completely. Many of those things I did that were bad as a moody teenager were trauma responses in traumatic events themselves. I hate this man. Anyway, lately I've been trying to tell my mom that she needs to recognize his behavior for the abuse that it is. He's effectively pushing me and my brother out of my mother's life because it suits him. But me and my brother were forced out of our childhood home before we were ready to move out. When we left home, we struggled with homelessness and had to sleep on friends' couches and got involved with even more terrible/traumatic situations. My mom does not realize how painful it has been to give up our childhood bedrooms to a man who hardly greets us to turn into his man cave. I told my mom how much this hurt, and she exploded at me with a list of things I've done wrong as a child. Now my grandfather is visiting from another country. My mom has planned a dinner with me, my brother, my grandfather, her partner, and her partner's family. I feel so utterly hurt and disrespected. This man has been in our lives 7 years, and I have tried to connect with him, but he refuses. Anytime I voice a concern, I get rejected and told I'm the problem. Same thing with my brother. I cannot sit at the same table with this horrible man and his horrible family. I just cannot do it. I'll explode. This may be my last chance to see my grandfather, and my heart will break if I never see him again. How do I navigate this? How do I tell my mom she's disrespected my boundaries without her exploding at me? I don't want my grandfather to worry or think I'm the problem, but it's very hard for him to see how much hurt our partner has caused our family. It's excruciating. Now I'm losing time with my grandfather and my mom. Precious time. My heart is aching. If I back out, she'll blame it on me. Say I'm the problem. But it's really crossing a boundary. Honestly, it sounds like OP's been put into a lose-lose situation, but the first thing that OP has to realize is that their mother is gone. It is crystal clear that she's been spoon-fed her opinions of her own children by her new boyfriend. I don't know what the solution here is. This is a shitty, tricky situation to be forced into, because on one end, you could maybe potentially try to let your grandfather know of the kind of shit that's being pulled, but you run the risk of further isolating yourself and potentially just proving the stepfather/boyfriend right that you're a problem-moody teenager with a rap sheet of bullshit you did when you were a kid and still learning. When your mother opted to make you and your brother homeless in favor of giving her boyfriend his man cave, she cemented herself as no longer being your mother. He's not taking the precious time that you have left with her away. She took that away. She took it away from you and gave it to him. The only potential feasible solution that I could even begin to find or think of is going to the dinner, playing nice, finding a way that you can keep in contact with your grandfather, and when dinner's over, spill the beans in private. The only issue is this requires OP to play nice with the man who essentially made her homeless in favor of a fucking man cave. I can only wish OP the best, because this is not a fun and a messy situation to be in, and unfortunately, there's not an easy way to navigate this. Because OP wants to be able to continue having that relationship with their grandfather, and in order to do that, they need to be able to navigate this situation. Once it's over though, I would highly recommend OP just to move on from this relationship with their mother, because it's very clear that she's chosen who she prefers to be with, and I just don't think there's any returning to that. She made her choices, and now it's time for you and your brother to make yours. If OP is dead set on maintaining this relationship with their grandfather, then they need to at least make sure they get some form of contact. But I would highly recommend that they just walk away from the relationship with their mother, because that's not their mother. A mother would never let their kids be homeless in favor of giving their boyfriend a man cave. Root beer cutie booty. That's the name of the user. I promise. The Reign of Terror, aka our son has never done anything wrong. Ever. So I recently quit my job at a daycare, which I'll call Happy Daycare. I had been there for almost 2 years, but due to a lot of the other people quitting and being forced to participate in mandatory meetings, along with other things, I quit. This child, while not at the daycare anymore, added undue stress, not just to me, but to everyone. I'm going to call the kid Terror. And I know that's mean, but trust me when I say it suits him. So when everyone graduated to their new classroom, Terror didn't graduate right away because he was still potty training, despite being 3. Now, both of his parents worked, but it seemed they didn't even try to potty train him on the weekends. They asked why he hadn't done it. Well, we can't start potty training unless the kids are doing it at home. If they're not potty training at home, then the lessons won't be effective. It took him about 2 months to move upstairs. However, it seemed like the lessons didn't stick. One of my coworkers, I'll call her Lily, was upstairs in the classroom Terror was. Upstairs, they have iPads, and the rule is you can only be on the iPad for 15 minutes. Well, one day, Lily starts smelling poop. She thinks maybe someone has passed gas, but then realized that Terror has pooped to the tablets. Instead of getting up to go to the bathroom, Terror decided to poop his pants and sit in his own feces. Ugh. So, to add a repeat of that, Lily told me the story and said Terror could not be on the iPad for the rest of the day. So, he tattles to his mom, who then tattles to our boss, who was not helpful in this situation. The mom also got angry that we gave her Terror's poopy clothing. We legally cannot throw away clothing unless the parents say it's okay. And trust me, some parents get pissed if you throw away clothing, even if it's ruined. One time I had to help change Terror into new clothing because he had another accident in his underwear. He was in the bathroom. That's in the classroom. And I went to grab his clothing. I came back and what do I find? He peed on the floor, right next to the toilet. His parents didn't see this as a big deal and were just once again angry that we sent home the dirty clothing. I once again had to explain that we cannot throw away dirty clothing without proper consent or we get in trouble. Now, I was not a head teacher. I was a support teacher, meaning I would go to any classroom I was told to, go in and help out the teachers with whatever they needed. I usually started my day by doing bathroom breaks, seeing if any teacher in my classroom needed it. So, while I wasn't always with Terror, I knew how bad he could be. Everyone knew how bad he could be. If he didn't get his way, he would hit, kick, throw a tantrum, spit, or try to bite. He once kicked another child in the head for no reason, and we had to call our mother just in case the child had a concussion. Needless to say, that mother wasn't happy. Now, Terror's parents were no help. They either didn't believe us or thought we were lying about their kid. I think the mom was the worst. When the kid got hurt, or if a kid did something to a classmate, he had to write them up. Terror would sometimes have multiple reports in one day. I think one time, he had 3. I'd also find him sitting up front with the main ladies in charge, not in class. Again, the mom doesn't seem to think it's a big deal, and she also sometimes thought the teachers were making things worse. I heard her say, "I think they're making it worse." Guys, they tried everything to help Terror. We had not one, but 2 therapists come into Happy Daycare to help this kid, and he only got worse. He got so bad that my bosses would try to get one of the support teachers to be one-on-one with him. When she asked me, I straight away said absolutely not. And later, Lily told me my boss tried the same thing on her. The teachers in Terror's room were also at their wits' end because they couldn't just focus on one kid. They had around 12 other children to look after. Terror also didn't just attack kids. He attacked teachers too. He hit multiple teachers multiple times and once tried to pinch me when I told him no. He also lost a lot of privileges due to repeated bad behavior. For example, he was no longer allowed to be the line leader because he got into the hallway and took off by himself. If you've worked in daycare, that's a big no-no and a safety hazard. But again, the mother thinks her child is a precious angel. She even complained that the other kids weren't playing with Terror and was upset the teachers weren't doing anything about it. Now, kids aren't stupid, and a lot of Terror's classmates were just tired of dealing with him. I'm also not big on forcing kids to play together, and instead, try to get kids to understand that just because a friend doesn't want to play now, doesn't mean they won't play with you later. I'm also not going to force kids to play with the class bully who has hurt them before. But no matter what we did, parents were no help, and they seemed to think the people at Happy Daycare were the bad guys. However, there is some happy news. Terror left Happy Daycare. His parents found him a new daycare, but he didn't even finish his final week at Happy Daycare. Nope, he had another fit, and someone had to be one-on-one with him. My coworker overheard them calling his mom, saying, "You need to come get him now." Despite everything, I feel bad for Terror because his parents won't parent him. They would excuse everything he did and get mad at us for doing our jobs. I knew he was either going to leave Happy Daycare or be kicked out because nothing was working. So long, Terror. I wish you the best of luck. It's stories like these that, as someone who one day wants to be a parent, that, make me worried, if a child acting up like this, is that ingrained as, a potential dice roll for behavior, or is this learned behavior? Is this something that they pick up from because their parents just don't give a shit? I really do hope that it's the latter and not the former, because I would just feel like a fucking failure if my child acted like this. Because my first thought would be, the child's behavior is a direct reflection on my ability to be a parent. And I can't even imagine being told by an entire staff of a daycare that your child is literally a fucking nightmare, to the point where they recount your child on Reddit, they name him Terror. And your response is, "No, you're the problem, not me, I'm doing just fine." I am concerned as to what Terror's home life looked like if it was just a cycle of neglect and, little toddler brain can't comprehend what's going on, so neglect gets pushed out. It becomes his way of dealing with his problems and other people around him. I'd be really curious to hear from someone who either works in child psychology or pediatrics or anything along those lines, assuming I even have people in my audience who work in those professions, just to perhaps shine a light on this, or maybe parents who have a shit ton of experience. Just something, whether it's to put my mind at ease or just to help explain where this behavior comes from and how this progresses and becomes just as bad as it is. Because to me, my biggest concern in this kind of behavior just tells me that he might just be acting out for attention, and this is just how he's learned to get attention from people, is to act like this. I don't know, I'm kind of just theorizing out loud here, so don't take my words as gospel, it's just me kind of blabbering. Also, for the soiled clothing, they 100% wanted you to wash, dry, and make sure they were clean before handing them back. That was their full intention, that's why they were upset. It's not that you were giving them the clothing back or they wanted you to dispose of them, they wanted you to fully clean them. I guarantee you, that's why they were upset. Ugh. Posted by Uwu, my bagel. Entitled Dad Or Overthinking. I, 18 female, have been babysitting for the same family for a few years. The parents are generally nice, and I've never had issues until this weird interaction. That's been stuck in my head. The other day, I accidentally arrived about 15 minutes early. It was a little awkward, but the mom was nice about it and asked if I could go to the basement to play with one of the kids until she finished getting ready. Before going downstairs, I asked the dad, let's call him Robert, if I could keep my shoes on. Last time I got Play-Doh on my socks. He looked confused, so I explained. He said, yeah, then follows me downstairs, opens a closet, pulls out a vacuum, and proceeds to show me how to use it, specifically pointing out how to clean up dried Play-Doh from the floor. At first, I thought maybe he was trying to prevent me from tracking in dirt or something, but no. He was clearly hinting that I should clean the Play-Doh. For context, this was not a mess from that day, and I wasn't even officially on the clock yet. It had clearly been from the previous day. I've always been fine with cleaning up minor messes the kids make while I'm working, but this felt different. Like I was being assigned a chore that wasn't mine in this super weird roundabout way. He never actually asked me to vacuum. He just demonstrated how to clean the mess, as if I was supposed to take the hint. I didn't want to cause tension, so I just smiled and nodded. But I couldn't stop thinking about it. About 15 minutes later, I heard him and the mom in the kitchen, and I, in my nicest, most polite voice, called up, "Excuse me, Robert, do you want me to vacuum underneath the table too?" Immediately I heard the mom go, "Vacuum?" And within seconds, Robert comes rushing down to the basement with this giant awkward smile and says, "Oh, no, you don't need to vacuum." And I forgot to put it away after taking it out. He was very flustered. Complete backpedal. I think he realized how it sounded when someone else heard it. The whole thing gave me the ick, but I'm trying to give him the benefit of the doubt. Now, I'm wondering, was I out of line for saying something in front of the mom like that? Was he being sexist, entitled, or something else? Whether or not he was being sexist, entitled, or God knows what it was, I think OP handled this situation perfectly. Any clarification or concerns about what he was asking her to do was immediately cleared up when she brought it up in front of the mother as well. But from the information provided, I personally can't tell if the husband was being sexist or if he was being entitled and expecting her to vacuum the house, or God knows what, because from the details here, I could definitely see it going a lot of different directions. But just to be clear, I do also get the same vibe and the same ick that OP got that made them ask this question in the first place. So, yeah, while I personally can't derive the true intentions of the father in this scenario, I do think OP handled the situation perfectly and left no wiggle room for doubt or any kind of miscommunication. But what do you think? What are your theories on this behavior? Was this inherently sexist? Was it entitled? Was this just a lapse of communication on the husband's part? Because while I do certainly have the ick from the information OP provided, I'm having a hard time pinpointing it. Hey everyone, welcome to the outro. Right now, GamerSubs is actually doing a free shipping promotion deal, so instead of the usual 10% off, you get free shipping, when using code OZ at checkout, of course. So this is perfect for those of you who don't live in the States and want to do an order with GamerSubs, but don't want to pay the exorbitant fee of the shipping costs. This promotion is lasting from May 16th at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time to May 23rd to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, so be sure to take advantage of this while you still can. Seriously, take advantage of it.